Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and I am bringing another installment of the Top 5 Future Premium Ships video today. I believe this is the fourth one in this series, and I think the last time I did this was like 3 or 4 months ago, so it's been a while. And we've had a lot of new people come to the channel since then, so for those of you that don't know, this is a series where I go through 5 ships that I think should be added into the game as premium ships. And I just kind of give you a general idea of what I think they should be like, any type of tricks or gimmicks they should have, and roughly where they should be at in the tiering system. And most of these ships, I feel like, especially for this one, I really do feel like I've got the tiers down for these. And I think a lot of these are really interesting. It's probably one of the more interesting lists I've put together for this series. So anyway, and these are in no particular order, by the way. Number 1, it's not like 1 should be in the game more than number 5. These are all just ships that I think should be added into the game, no particular order. So let's go ahead and get started. So for number 5, we have the USS Wisconsin, the last Iowa class ship. I think a couple of videos ago in this series, I said the New Jersey. I said that ship should be given the Massachusetts treatment. Well, for the Wisconsin, I think she should be given the John Barr treatment. By that, I mean she should be up tier to tier 10, be given a reload booster, and maybe not the speed boost because the ship is already so fast. But reload booster, bump it up to tier 10, take the Iowa class, bump it to tier 10. Don't change any of the stats about the hull, but tune the guns up a little bit more, make them a little bit more accurate. Maybe notch up the Sigma like 1. Like point one, not a whole 1, just 0.1. Make the dispersion a bit better, because the Iowa class, if you build for it, has some really good dispersion. So you may not even have to change that, especially since you're giving it the reload booster, and that would be quite a fun ship, especially if you have that reload booster. And I don't think it needs radar. Maybe just let it keep the fighter plane, not the spotter plane. That way you can't just be like dunking on like other ships from, good lord, with the spotter plane, an American battleship that's like 24, 25 kilometers away, with American dispersion that's going to be improved. And I think it would do very well there. You could maybe throw in the speed boost if you would want to, but then you would have another situation where you have a ship that could go pretty dang close to 40 knots, which isn't bad, so you could do that, but I wouldn't think it would need it. Just beef up the guns a little bit, and I think maybe improve the AA2. You can say it's like the late war refit, which I think the Sea Hull already is that, but they always make stuff up anyway for most of these ships, so just making something up to improve the AA even more wouldn't be too far of a stretch for wargaming. And I think this would be probably a good, not a steel ship, maybe a coal ship, a coal or free XP ship. And I think it would work just to get all 4 Iowas in the game with a little bit different flavor for each of them. That would be very cool. Alright, moving on to number 4, we have the Lexington battle cruiser. So those of you that don't know, the Lexington class carriers were originally supposed to be battle cruisers way back in the day, but then as it got obvious that the war in the Pacific was going to be going more along the lines of carriers rather than artillery ships, it got converted into a carrier. A little bit correction Ranger guys, I mistakenly said that the Lexingtons were changed because of the war in the Pacific. They were not. They were actually scrapped and converted over to carriers, the Lexington and the Saratoga, because of that lovely Washington Naval Treaty. I apologize for this mistake, and this is me correcting it. So anyway, back to the list. I am just using a Alaska on screen, just since it's the closest thing America has to a battle cruiser right now in the game. I'll throw up a couple of pictures of what the design was supposed to look like right here. And this ship would be somewhere around tier 7. Because the final and there were 2 main iterations for this. The first iteration was 14-inch guns on a ship that could go, I think it was 36, 37 knots, almost 40 knots. And then that got changed later on to 8 16-inch guns, 2 per turret and 4 turrets. And she was slower at 34 knots top speed, roughly. And I think that would be the appropriate one to add into the game, because if it had 14-inch guns, again, you're having a ship that's a cross between a cruiser and a battleship. If you have 14-inch guns on a... I'm not sure where they would even classify this as a cruiser or a battleship in the game. Probably a cruiser, given what they've done with the other quote-unquote super cruisers in the game. So that would have to be roughly around tier 6, tier 5. So tier 5 or tier 6, probably tier 6 ship with 14-inch guns that can go almost 40 knots. That would be a bit much, but I think a tier 7 ship with 8 16-inch guns that can go 33 knots, and of course they can dial that down to 32 or just 30. I think that could work quite well. Now the armor, of course, it's a battle cruiser, so it's got cruiser levels of armor. So this would definitely be more of a glass cannon, but it could still get up to around 33, 34 knots with the proper build on. They could even throw the speed boost in there too. Now the guns, I would have to say they would have to give it a slightly lower accuracy than Colorado, but not like German accuracy. So just crank down the Sigma and dispersion of Colorado just a little bit, and I think it would be okay there. And again, this would be a glass cannon type of setup, and they could give it a healthy amount of hit points too to offset that, or they could throw in some heals. They would probably give it a mediocre amount of hit points, and then give you probably, I would say, no more than like 2 heal stock, 3 heals with Superintendent, and 4 heals with Superintendent and Premium. And I think that would work quite well. And of course, if they really wanted to beef it up a bit, they could maybe put it at tier 8 with some better armor. But I think tier 7 would be an okay place for it to be. Maybe, and again, it's that 16-inch guns, 8 16-inch guns that have good accuracy, tier 7, tier 8-ish. But I think if they go tier 7, just give it kind of trollish dispersion sometimes, it would work well there. Alright, moving on to number 3, we have the H-42. So the H-42 is, if you guys don't know, it's basically a expanded or swollen FDG. Except in the designs for it, it called for 18.9-inch guns. Well, the H-42 that I would say they could add to the game would be a tier 10 premium with 8 457mm guns, since Wargaming seems to have found a recent love for those guns, throwing them on everything. And this could easily be done. All they would have to do is either use the FDG model, make it slightly bigger, or heck, they don't have to do that, just maybe increase the hit points on it some, or just do a design that's kind of a continuation of the FDG, kind of if the 4x2 design continued onto the Kurfürst, which actually I believe in World of Warships Blitz, the Kurfürst is a 4x2 ship on there. So they could do some type of combination of those two designs, or just a bigger FDG, and add on 457mm guns. Now, you could go in 2 directions. The first direction, which I would think they would probably want to go, is make it a sniper. It'd be different for the Germans to have a actually good sniper battleship with 457mm guns. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy accurate, just I would say put it somewhere between the Ohio and the Thunderer, kind of a nice middle ground right there as far as accuracy goes, and you could still keep the German secondaries, so that you could make the turrets rotate rather quite slow, and retain those good secondaries in case a destroyer or a cruiser gets a little bit too close for you. And you could of course include things like hydroacoustic search, maybe give it some better AA, since the H-class designs did reflect the tragedy that befell the Bismarck and the turret pits, both being wrecked by planes, and they did compensate for that in the design, so you could beef up the AA there. And of course you could do this a multitude of ways, but I think the sniper German battleship with still retain those good German secondaries would be the best way to go. And you could still keep hydroacoustic search on there maybe, or well, maybe some defensive fire for your AA guns, but that again, just spitballing an idea. I think that would be a nice tier 10, and this could be a free XP or coal ship. I don't think it's quite worth being a still ship, but free XP or coal I think would be best for this one. Alright, number 2. This one is actually already in a different version of World of Warships, and that is the ISI, or how do you say this thing's name? ISI, I think it's ISI. Someone will correct me in the comments, I'm sure of. And this is a Tier 7 hybrid battleship carrier. So, in World of Warships Blitz, this is a Tier 7, and it's quite very, very unique. It's a Japanese battleship. It has a flight deck on the back, and in Blitz, it has one bomber squadron. And in Blitz, they're still using the old-ish carrier system where you just click on that ship, tell your planes to go attack it. They go, they attack it, and then they come back. So they use the old CV system. Now, in the PC version of World of Warships, of course, we have the CV rework. Now, you could do one of two things with the ISI, in my opinion. You could just give it the old carrier playstyle, just go into the overhead map, click on that ship. So now it does only have one bomber squadron to go and bomb that one ship, and you could have the limited amount of planes that the old carriers had. Or you can make the bomber squadron a consumable and give it, let's say, just 5 charges or 6 charges or whatever they want to do with it, to where once you run out of charges, you're out of squadron, rather than having individual planes. That could be a way to balance it. Or you could just have it to where instead of having bombers, it could just be a dedicated anti-aircraft platform to where you just have fighters. Except these fighters are better than the normal catapult fighters. Maybe they have more health. Maybe they have a better recharge time, because you do have a whole flight deck on the back of your ship. But I do think the easiest thing for them to do would just maintain that old style of that old carrier system just for this ship, because again, it is only one squadron, so it's not like it's going to be replacing a carrier. It is very unique though, and watching gameplay of it from World of Warships Blitz, it's quite interesting, and I think it would be a good addition into the game. A good addition to the base game on PC. It would certainly be probably one of the most unique premiums in the PC in the PC version of the game, and I do think it should be added in. Will they do it? I don't know. Probably not, because of the way the CV rework is going and the continuing problems of it. They probably won't add this in. Not this year. Probably not next year either. Maybe not ever. It would actually surprise me if they would add it in, but I do think that they should add it in. Alright. So, number 1 is HMS Revenge. And this ship is for all intents and purposes, a better Queen Elizabeth class. It was essentially a Queen Elizabeth with better armor and slightly slower, actually. So it's basically a better armored Queen Elizabeth. So this would be a Tier 6 ship, again with the 4 turrets, 2 guns in each, and these are still 15-inch guns. And it has around a 21 knot top speed, which I think the Queen Elizabeth with the speed flag is 23 or 24 knots. So this would be roughly the same speed, just a little bit slower. So this would be a relatively easy ship for them to put into the game. And for this ship too, I would say they would also just give it normal battleship AP instead of British BB AP. So basically making it a more armored warspite. And they could balance that by, not giving it a warspite heal, so just giving it a normal heal. So, that would balance it out there at Tier 7. So basically, a British Colorado almost, but more accurate. And I think that this would be a very, very, very nice addition into the game. So guys, those are 5 more ships that I think should be added into the game as premium ships. Actually, from, I think, 2 lists ago, the Tennessee that I said should be added into the game not long after that video came out. The California was announced, which is of the same class as the Tennessee. So I got a nice giggle out of that. So guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What ships do you think should be added into the game? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Which ones do you disagree with? And for the ones that are more out there, like the H-42 and the ISA, what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright guys, hope you're having a wonderful Saturday, And if you did like the video, please drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 7,000 subscribers now. We recently blew by from 5,000 to 6,000, and now we are actually under 800 subs away from 7,000. You guys have been awesome with the new subscriptions recently. So again, guys, hope you're having a great Saturday. Hope to catch all of you guys in the next one.